When you look at the origin of Afrocentrism, you find that it is rooted in European ideology. The definition of Afrocentrism is centered on or derived from Africa or the Africans, emphasizing or promoting emphasis on African cultures and the contributions of Africans to the development of Western civilizations. Africa became the cradle of mankind by a European by the name of Charles Darwin when he wrote The Descent of Man in 1871, even though he also spoke that there were already Europeans in Europe before the African left Africa. And in this Descent of Man, he wrote how Africans all descended from primates in Africa, while there was a distinct race of Europeans in Europe. So when you look at it, the European is actually superior in this concept that they created by saying we only came from Africa and only Africa. And when you look at the out of Africa theory, it says that millions of years ago, apes came from Africa, and that's where so-called blacks descended from apes. This is a theory. But when you look at other countries, other nations like Australia, you look at the Australian geographic, you find that they say they aren't African. They are actually the oldest indigenous people on the planet. 3 strikes and we are all out of Africa and into Australia. This article is saying that there's strong evidence, that geographical and archaeological evidence that proves that the Australian is indigenous to Australia and not from Africa. Because you look at a skeleton they found, Mongo Man, in 1974, showing that it is genetically different from the African. Even though Australia is supposed to be isolated from Africa, it's supposed to be coming directly from Africa, it still has a different genetic makeup than an African. So the Australians do not say they came from Africa. The dingo, which is found only in Australia, did not come from Africa. When you look at other nations like the Asians, you find that the Asians do not believe they came from Africa, and they have the archaeological evidence to prove that.
The thing was to focus on Africa, to wipe out that we were a global people. You see what I'm saying? That was all over the globe, and everybody else came from that.
Exactly.
So as a result now, this thing works to this day, and some of your Afrocentric concepts and stuff came from these people in Europe. They think that, we all West African and based on a continental type thing. Whereas we finding out now, we were all over the planet.
Afrocentrism is a European belief system that was set up to remove the indigenous people, which is the so-called blacks in America, off of their land. We are made to believe that we all came from Africa, and all other places in the rest of the world are not ours, and that the people in America all came off of a slave boat, which is the biggest lie they ever told. It was to remove us off of our land. Because when they give you this mental picture that we all came from Africa and we are not indigenous to America, then they can take the land. They can take the resources. We can get shot in the back of the head with no regress. We can get shot in the back of the head with no justice done, because we don't know who we are, that we are actually standing in our own land, and that we are the indigenous, aboriginal, autochthons of America.